Between your gathering with remembrance of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. As a gift to the soul of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Al-Imam Al-Hussein, his honorable brother Abu al-Fadl Abbas, his companions recite the second salawat. For Allah to shower onto this gathering with His infinite mercy and compassion, to hasten the reappearance of Sayyidina wa Mawlana Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. Recite the third salawat with the loudest of your voices. And tonight, my dear brothers and sisters, is dedicated to a hero. A hero from the heroic story of Ashura. A man who could not resist the cries of the children. The children who were thirsty. They were crying. He could not sit back. He could not just watch them suffer. He could not hear the cries of the innocent children. So he went to fetch them water, to quench their thirst. And when he was not successful and he fell on the sands of Karbala, Imam al-Hussein came to him. He said to him, Ya Abu al-Fadl, allow me to take you back to the tents. You're my brother. Abu al-Fadl said, no. Please do not take me back. Why, Ya Abu al-Fadl? Because I am ashamed of the kids. What will I tell them? That your uncle failed you? Your uncle could not bring you water? How can we hear the story of Abu al-Fadl Abbas, Qamaru Bani Hashim, Saqi Utasha Karbala, and we are not inspired to hear the cries of our own flesh and blood, our own children, our own teenagers who are in crisis? And I tell you, at the leadership, we have to change our strategy. We have to change our vision. Why? Because if you look at Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, his greatest of companions, the superstars surrounding Rasulullah, were all teenagers, young men. Go read the biography of the majority of the Sahaba of Rasulullah, especially the loyal ones. The ones that stuck with Amir al-Mu'mineen and Imam Hassan. And some of them lived in the time of Imam al-Hussein. They were all young men. Look at the superheroes of the battlefield of Karbala. The vast majority of them were young men. Look at the companions of Imam al-Sadiq salawatullahi alayhi, the founder of our school of thought, the founder of our madhab. They were all mostly young men. Hisham ibn al-Hakam was young. Zurara was young. Muhammad ibn Muslim was a young man. They were all young men. So how was it that Islam attracted them now? Islam was attractive to them. They were motivated, resilient. infatuated with the love of Allah, Rasulullah, and the Imam of their time. And why is it that we're not as successful today with the teenagers? The answer is, it's because we're not following the same footsteps of Rasulullah. We're not following the same footsteps of Imam al-Hussein, of Imam al-Sadiq. I know in many communities, and I can say this here because this is not the case here, in many communities around the world, and especially in America, many people who are listening to me today, the priority is not given to the youth. In the centers, in the majalis, and selecting speakers, and selecting a capable leadership, the priority is not given to the youth. It's given to the elders, the ones that have more money. And that is why we suffer today. And those individuals are the future of Islam. Islam depends on them. They are the future of our communities. And that is why tonight I'm going to lend my voice to them. I'm going to lend my voice to those who are seen but not heard. To those suffering, whether it's at home or within their communities. And in the very beginning of my address, before I engage in this topic, I want to say this. My dear friends, our beloved teenagers, you must know that we love you. Your father loves you. Your mother loves you. Your grandparents love you. Your family love you. Your community loves you. And yes, I understand your pain. I understand your pain. You're trying to fit in. You're trying to find your identity. You're trying to find acceptance. You're trying to fight temptation. Your body's going through all sorts of changes. There could be confusion. But you should not be confused about one thing. Please, take this from me. You should not be confused about your father and your mother loving you. And more importantly, you should not be confused about Allah loving you. Allah loves you. You're not alone. Allah is with you. And I want to examine this topic tonight. An extremely important topic, a dear topic to all of us. After your 3 loud salawats ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. First and foremost, why do teenagers think about love so much? Yes, one reason could be the hormones. One reason could be the biological change that they're going through. One reason could be that they're lacking love at home, or they feel that they're lacking love at home. But I want to say this. I believe that's one of the greatest reasons, if not the biggest and the greatest of reasons, is television. Is what we feed ourselves, the movies that we watch. And we don't think of this. But you tell me, find me any movie, any cartoon that does not contain a love story. Even children cartoons, 5 years old, 10 years old, they're sitting there watching it over and over again. It's got to have a love story. And this affects people. How does it feel to be loved? I want to feel loved. I also want to love. Another reason is because culturally here in America, and I really believe in this, is that success is associated with not being what? Single. If you're in high school and you're single, you're not a cool kid. You're not somebody that people want to hang out with. And it's the pressure every single day at school and wherever they go. Now, what happens if you love someone, or you think you love someone, or you have a crush on someone, and that person doesn't love you back? Don't tell me it hasn't happened. If it hasn't, it's just a matter of time. So people feel devastated because the only thing they see in life is this person. My happiness is with this person. And suddenly you find teenagers looking up, what is a soulmate? Is this person my soulmate? And they think that, I'm going to spend the rest of my life, the rest of my days with this person. And of course, that's not the case. But they don't know that at that period, at that phase they're going through, right? So when they receive rejection, when they feel rejected, this person doesn't love me, she doesn't love me, he doesn't love me, now the entire world is gloomy and I give up on life. Because this is the most important thing in my life. If I can't have him, why should I study? Why should I even do anything? Life has now become meaningless. And I tell you, the best way to overcome this, the most powerful way to overcome this, is to work on yourself. Invest on yourself. Don't invest in others. Because those are your golden moments. Those years are your golden days. You're free. You have no responsibilities. You got no bills to pay. You don't have to have a job. You don't have to do much except study and focus on yourself. Don't invest your entire life, your energy, your joy, your pain, in someone else, especially if they don't care. And what do you do then? You make a comeback. I read in the biography of one of the most iconic athletes that this guy, nobody wanted to be with him when he was in high school and whatever. He didn't get the attention from the ladies. But guess what? 5 years later, there wasn't a single, I'm just saying this in an exaggerating manner. There wasn't nobody that didn't want to be with him. Make a comeback. Work on yourself. Invest in yourself. And that is how you deal with haters. In every aspect of your life, I'll give you a solution for haters. Make a comeback. Work on yourself. Today, the best of authors, the most successful businessmen and women, presidents, prime ministers, revolutionaries, people with an impact, are the ones who were rejected. They were haters, and the haters motivated them even more. Why? Because I have something now, I need to prove myself. I need to make a comeback. Keep that as the most important lesson in your life. Number 3, what is courage? A lot of people, when we're teenagers, we confuse what courage is. We think courage is to face 3 people, for example, the football field after school, and we're not afraid to get into a punch-up with them. That's courage. Or some people nowadays think that courage is if I go and I leave a mean comment under somebody's post. No, you're ugly. I hate your shoes. Your hair looks awful. Nobody loves you. Nobody cares. We think this is courage. Why? Because I had the courage to do this. I had the courage to write this. Or to be the troublemaker at school. I don't mind detention. I don't mind being expelled. I'm not afraid of my parents. You afraid of your parents? What kind of guy are you? You're afraid of your dad? You listen to your dad, man? I heard somebody say this. A teenager was speaking to another teenager, and he was saying, man, you're scared of your dad? That's so 1990s. I was thinking, this guy. It's when I was a teenager. I felt really old. You know what real courage is? Real courage is to be able to stand after you fall. It takes a lot of courage. You know what real courage is? Is to keep trying. Though you know that maybe I'm still going to fail. Maybe it's going to take another 10 tries, 20 tries, 30 tries. Maybe it's going to take an entire year. But every time I fail, I'm going to stand up again. That is courage. Send those brothers here so I can see them in front of me. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Real courage is patiently waiting. Real courage is to feel that you're alone. Yes, you feel you're alone, but you don't give up. But real courage, honestly, real courage is to look at this huge mountain of problems and attack it. It's not, real courage is you go up to this girl and I was going to tell you that I really like you, and here's my phone number. And I feel that, unfortunately, today, courage is also something that is misunderstood. Why? Because this is not what media and television and movies show us. They talk about courage. They talk about a guy killing another guy or attacking him, or another guy trying to win over so many girls. And supposedly he's a hero and he's courageous. But I tell you, real courage was displayed by Imam al-Hussein, and you are at the school of Imam al-Hussein. When a man stands and he sees 25,000 people in front of him, and he does not run away. This is a problem that I need to face. I need to rise to the occasion. I'm not going to be fearful. Real courage was displayed by Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. You know when? Not in Khaybar, not in Khandaq, not when he slept in the bed of Rasulullah. Of course, those were all courageous acts. But real courage was when Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen remained silent, because that's what Rasulullah told him to do. Ghadir. من كنت مولاه فهذا علي مولاه. All the Muslimin come and give allegiance to him. He's the first Muslim. He's the defender of Islam and Rasulullah. But Rasulullah told him, and I spoke of this last year, remember? Rasulullah told him, Ya Ali, satakunu min ba'di fitna. After me, there will be chaos. There will be disloyalty. You will not be able to sit on the chair of Khilafah. What should I do, Ya Rasulullah? You must remain patient. Sometimes it takes a lot of courage not to say anything, to remain patient. You are at the school of Ahl al-Bayt, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhim, who were not afraid of poverty. You've all heard and read the stories of Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba. Tens of occasions. People come and ask him, Ya ibn Rasulullah, we heard you are the most generous man in Medina. And we are here to ask of your generosity. Imam Hassan gives them all that which is in his home. Everything. Sometimes it was 5 dinars and sometimes it was 500 dinars. This takes a lot of courage. People who came and insulted Imam al-Baqir. In one tradition, a man not only insulted him and he called him Baqarah. You all know the story. Imam al-Baqir was called a Baqarah. A Baqarah is a cow. And what did Imam al-Baqir say? Imam al-Baqir says, you seem hungry. You seem like you're a visitor here. You seem like you don't have a home. Can I offer you some food? Can I offer you my home? Can I help you in any way? It takes a lot of courage, brothers and sisters, to be attacked. Keep a smile. Control your anger. And today, if you feel depressed, you feel neglected, you feel there is trauma in your life, hold on. Stand tall. Do not give up. That is real courage. And I said, we all need love in our life. This is how Allah created us. There is nothing shameful about love. I'm not here to shame people. I'm not here to put you down. But I'll tell you, there is one love that is meaningful, extremely meaningful, extremely satisfying. It's one true love. It's a love that will never disappoint you. And that is the love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your creator. The empire of Allah is not this universe. It's not this galaxy. The empire of Allah is your heart. Allah says in a hadith Qudsi, لا تسعني أرضي ولا سمائي. The heavens will not occupy me. The earth will not occupy me. لا تسعني أرضي ولا سمائي ولكن يسعني قلب عبدي المؤمن. This space. This is the sanctuary of Allah. This is the empire of Allah. And Allah says, welcome me into your heart. Allah in the Holy Quran says, ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. When you allow Allah to reside in your heart, you'll feel content. You will feel happy. Even though things may look so terrible, like how it looked for Sayyidah Zainab. I explained this a few nights ago. How was it that she turns around and says, مَا رَأَيْتُ إِلَّا جَمِيلًا? I saw nothing but beauty. How is it that Imam al-Hussein was content with all the calamities that befell onto him? It's because this heart is content. This heart has embraced Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And while your friends may give up on you, while your family may give up on you, while even sometimes your parents may give up on you, but Allah will never give up on you. Allah's door will always be open. And if you don't have friends, guess what? Who's going to be the best of friends? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You read in Jawshan al-Kabir, Ya Habib man la Habib lah. Oh, the beloved of those who have no beloveds. Wa ya Jalisa man la Jalisa lah. And the companion of those who have no companions. He's always there to listen to you, to hear you. Create this relationship with Allah at a young age, brothers and sisters. Speak to Allah. I said this a few nights ago. Speak to Allah however and whenever. There are no prerequisites. Go to Him. Speak with Him. Instead of sitting there feeling so miserable, speak to Allah few sentences and see how you feel. Try this. When you feel upset, when you feel no one understands you, when you feel neglected, when you feel trauma, when you feel depressed, God forbid if you're thinking of suicide, take a moment. Speak to Allah. A person comes to Musa. Moses was going to Mount Sinai. With this I'll conclude. I'll leave you with this most inspirational story. He was going to Mount Sinai. So he passed a man who was sitting. He said, Moses, are you going to Mount Sinai to meet with God? He says, yes, indeed I am. He says, I have a message for him. Can you take this message? He says, yeah, sure. What's the message? He said, tell him I hate him, please. So Musa said, okay, sure, but obviously he wasn't going to deliver that message. So he goes to Mount Sinai and he's meant to meet with Allah for 30 days. Then Allah said we added another 10 days. Why? Because the next 10 days were a test for His people. They expected Him after 30 days. He returned after 40 days. So within those 10 days, there was so much that happened. What happened to Musa? He ran away. He's not coming back. This, that. So there was a lot of chaos within his community. Every day Allah would say, Musa, is there something you want to tell me? Is there a message that you have to deliver for me? And Musa would say, no, Ya Allah, there is nothing really to discuss. The last moments, Allah said, Musa, are you sure you're not forgetting a message? Musa said, God, there is a message, but I'm embarrassed. And I don't want you to be upset at this guy who sent this message. Allah says to Moses, He said, Ya Musa, was the message for you or was it for me? He said, no, it was for you. He says, then deliver the message. So Musa says, this guy, he says he hates you. God responds, go and tell him I don't hate him. I love him. I created him. I'm responsible for him. Can I say this? Can I say that even if you're upset with God, tell him? Tell him. Tell him, oh Allah, I feel that you don't hear me. I feel that you don't see me. I feel that you don't look at the agony that I go through. I feel like you've ignored my family. You've ignored my mom. You've ignored my dad. Hello? I'm here. I exist. I'm here to tell you there is nothing wrong with that. But don't ever stop talking to Allah. Do not ever cut your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today, like I said, belongs to a hero. Hero. My hero. Your hero. And the hero to every single person who hears his story around the world. Qamaru Bani Hashim. He is also Babul Hawa'ij. And he was the commander of the armed forces of Imam al-Hussein. As-salamu alayka ayyuha al-abdu as-salih al-muti'u lillahi wa lirasulihi wa li-amir al-mu'minin. السلام عليك يا أبا الفضل السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. Take your hearts to Bayn al-Haramain. On one side there is Abbas. On one side there is Hussein. Imagine yourself there on the 10th of Muharram. Abu al-Fadl comes to Imam al-Hussein. He says to him, Ya akha, ya Aba Abdullah, I no longer can bear the cries of the children crying out, Al-Atash, Al-Atash. Ya Aba Abdullah, give me permission so that I go and I fight your enemies. Imam al-Hussein says to him, Ya Abu al-Fadl, instead of doing that, go and get them some water. Go get those thirsty children that haven't drank water for 3 days, go and get them water. So Imam al-Hussein wanted Abu al-Fadl to get water in return. Why? Because he told him, Anta sahibu liwa'i. You're the flag bearer of my camp. You're the protection of this camp. I cannot let you go. Abu al-Fadl took the bucket. He sat on the back of his horse. His face was full of nur. He was known as Qamaru Bani Hashim. You've seen the moon on the night of the 15th? Full of light, full of beauty. This was the title they had given Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, Qamaru Bani Hashim. He sat, and when they looked at him, he reminded them of his father, Amir al-Mu'mineen. He went and he reached the Euphrates. Allahu Akbar. Tonight, brothers, sisters, I don't want you to be shy. I want you to raise your voice in crying. Why? You know why? Because Sahib al-Asri wal-Zaman, your 12th Imam, says to you, I promise you, it's a promise from your Imam to us, that if you were to recite the masa'ib of my uncle Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas, I will be there with you. And I will shed tears with you. He goes into the Euphrates. He's thirsty. He hasn't drank water in 3 days. He gets down from his horse, he fills the bucket, then he wants to drink water. He holds on to the water, he brings it closer to his face. Then he reminds himself of the thirst of his brother, Imam al-Hussein. My brother Hussein, my Imam is thirsty, how can I drink water? He says, how can you drink water and Hussein is thirsty? Oh my nafs, you should not do that. You're better than that. How can I drink while Hussein is thirsty? Hayhat, never. This is not what I was taught. He holds on to the bucket. He's marching back. Imam al-Hussein is also standing in front of the tents of the kids, the children, the thirsty ones, crying out, al-atash, al-atash, saying, here returns your uncle Abul Fadl. He's coming back. The children are joyful. Then a man, a coward who was not willing to face Abul Fadl Abbas, from his back took out a sword and amputated the right arm of Abul Fadl Abbas. He took the bucket in his left arm. Another mal'oon came and amputated the left arm. He took the bucket, he put it in his mouth. He was still going, galloping towards Imam al-Hussein. They came in front of Abul Fadl Abbas and they shot his eyes with 2 arrows. The arrows landed in his eyes. He stopped. He couldn't move. Where is he going? Another arrow landed in the bucket of the water. He felt the water falling on the ground. He must have been ashamed in that moment of Imam al-Hussein. He must have been ashamed in that moment of the children. He called out, Ya akha, Ya Aba Abdullah, oh my brother Hussein, this is where I'm going to stop. I can no longer continue my journey. When he stopped, a man came with an iron pole and hit him on the back of his head. Brothers, I ask you, if somebody falls off a horse, what do? They use their hands to protect themselves, but Abul Fadl had no hands. He fell on the ground, calling out his brother for the very first time. He would never call him Ya Akha. He would always call him Sayyidi, Mawlai, my Imam. But for the first time he called out, Ya Akha. Ya Aba Abdullah, adrikni, come to my rescue. Imam al-Hussein went to him, but you know how he went to him? Imam al-Hussein was no longer able to walk. He walked with his hands on his back, saying, Ya Abul Fadl, Ya Akha. Imam al-Hussein came, he held him on his lap. Abul Fadl could not see, so he didn't know who's holding on to his head. He says to him, oh man, I want one thing from you. Before you amputate my head, allow my brother Hussein to get here. I want to say my goodbyes to him. He says, Ya Akha, Ya Abul Fadl, I am your brother Hussein. Allow me to take you back to the tents. Abul Fadl says to him, Ya Hussein, how can I go back to the tents? What will I tell the women and the children that I could not bring them water? Please Hussein, leave me here. Allahu Akbar. This is one moment for Abul Fadl, and the other moment was with when Zainab was leaving Karbala. She looks at the dead bodies, the slain bodies of her brothers, but she goes to Abbas. She says, oh Abbas, remember when you put me on the back of the camel? Who is there to put me back on the back of the camel now, Ya Abul Fadl? All of us, the soldiers of Hussein, the soldiers of Abul Fadl Abbas, together we raise our voice now for moments to repay our allegiance to Imam al-Hussein. Labbayka ya Hussein, Labbayka ya Hussein. No. Louder, brothers, sisters, everyone, people outside, upstairs, wherever you are. Labbayka ya Hussein, Labbayka.